Good.
That's good. Are you excited about the weekend?
Yeah.
I just
So
talked
what's
to
this
David
weekend? It's
Nanda.
the
Yeah,
Rathayatra.
yeah. I was talking to David Nanda. I called him up because I was wondering if he was going to go to Rath Yatra. You know, he's been having health problems. And so he said he was just at the urologist. And
Oh, well, this is on YouTube.
yeah. Yeah, well, you know, it's he doesn't care. But he has problems. And so, you know, he said he's gonna be there. He's gonna perform about maybe 5 o'clock. No, 7 o'clock. That's when the parade is. The parade's at 7. It looks like maybe, you know, unless Anna comes, you and I are probably the only ones going there from Pittsburgh so far.
Oh, okay.
But you're gonna bring your car here?
Yeah.
Boyfriend's car? All right. So yeah, we'll take off maybe, I don't know. What time do you think you want to go?
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Well, it's from 2 to 8, but I don't know. I want to actually set up a tent at like I did last year. Did you see my tent thing last year? Or were you there last year?
I can't remember.
There was like a big huge rainstorm, and that was going there. We had to buy some umbrellas at the Target on the way there in Highlands. But yeah, it was like a huge downpour. But it's going to be nice. It's going to be a little warm, I think, about pushing 90. But I'm going to get a tent and some chairs and a table. I'm going to do my dodging disease and death indefinitely display with. I'm going to put this. Maybe can you see this? If you got a computer, maybe you can see that.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to advertise this thing that we're doing right now, so that people can, they just take my card and then they can get some information. I'm going to have a little speaker playing my audiobook recording of that pamphlet that I wrote. And, maybe they'll stop by, catch a card, get a card, and join in. We need as many people as possible because it's not very popular. You're the only one that's joining so far, therefore you are unique in this world.
Oh, thanks.
Millions of men or women, one may be interested in liberation. Many are liberated. So many different millions of them actually is interested in Krishna and is realized, so it is a kind of unique club. So thank you for participating. I'll share the screen here. I think we're on 24. We only did 3 verses last time because I was blabbing away.
I think I had a bunch of questions too.
Oh, you do?
No problem.
Okay, well, let me see if I can get this speaker on because I can hardly hear you. I'm putting it through. Okay, now it is. Say something.
Hello.
Say something.
Hello.
Oh, what? It's not working still.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I'm assuming this works. Okay, we're on text 24. Do you have any questions first?
Not yet.
All right. Okay, I'll do the normal thing. I'll read the Sanskrit and then you can read the purport. Ya evan vedi purusham prakritim chagunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasabuyo bijayate. Whoops. I'm gonna make sure my camera doesn't go off. All right, synonyms. Yeah, anyone whom. Evam, thus, Veti understands Purusham, the living entity, Prakriti, material nature, Cha and Gunai, the modes of material nature. Saha, with Sarvata in all ways, Vartamana, being situated api, in spite of, not, never. Sahi, Bhuya, again. Abhijayate, takes his birth. Translation. One who understands his philosophy concerning material nature, living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Go ahead.
Purport: clear understanding of material nature, the supersoul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to this material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. By his personal endeavor in association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness by understanding Bhagavad-gītā as it is explained by the personality of Godhead. Then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. He will be transferred into the spiritual world for a blissful eternal life of knowledge.
Text 25. Jnanena mani pasyanti kaschidatmana natmana anye sakyena yogena karma yogena chapare. Synonyms. Dhyanena, by meditation, atmani, within the self, pasyanti, see, kashit, some, atmanam, the supersoul, atmana, by the mind, anye, others, sankyena, of philosophical discussion, yogena, by the yoga system, karma yogena, by activities without fruit of desire, cha, also, apare, others. Translation. Some perceive the supersoul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. You can read that.
Purport: the Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into two classes as far as a man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone, the all-pervaded Godhead. Of course, there are those who try to understand the supreme absolute truth by cultivation of knowledge, and they can be counted in the class of the faithful. The Sakya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual souls as the 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of individual soul to be transcendental to the material elements, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul, there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th element. Thus, gradually, they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated that there are some people who are pure in consciousness and who try to find out the super soul by meditation, and when they discover the super soul within themselves, they become transcendentally situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the Supreme Soul by cultivation of knowledge, and there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Hatha yoga. I guess he's kind of calling the Hatha yoga system childish activity.
Well,
It's like,
I mean,
hatha yoga, isn't that like breathing exercises? I mean, Stanga yoga is meant to control the mind, and there's different yoga systems, but the whole goal of all yoga is just to concentrate the mind on the super soul within the heart. And anything other than that is childish. I mean, if you're trying to satisfy the Supreme Personality of God, and even by childish activities, that's something. It doesn't really, but if that's your goal, then that's also, good, because anything you do for Krishna is, even if it's childish, it's okay. You can chant. There's no hard and fast rules for chanting either. You can chant, even inattentively, even like as a joke, and you get liberated from that. It's very, very powerful. So you can't minimize any kind of activity, even if it's childish. Let's see what we got here. Text 26. Anye tvevam ajnanatan ananta Shrutvanyebhya pashate tepi chatirantieva mrityum shruti parayana. Synonyms: anye, others; two, but evam, thus; ajnanta, without spiritual knowledge; shrutva, by hearing; anebhya, from others; upasate, begin to worship; te, they; api, also; cha, and; itarani, transcend; eva, certainly; mrityum, the path of death; shruti parayana, inclined to the process of hearing. Translation: then again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. You can go ahead and read it.
This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society, there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization, and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to play these that audiobook when people can hear. Maybe they stop and listen for 30 seconds. They can, it's not me speaking. Fortunately, I don't have any knowledge. I mean, I'm trying to assimilate the knowledge. The whole thing is the knowledge is coming from Krishna, and we just have to take that, compartmentalize it, and use it for according to Krishna's will, distribute that knowledge to others based on his design. You know what I mean? it's a process of kind of like being a reflected object of, kind of via medium for Krishna's words to go through you. And because it's not us, definitely not. We can't understand Krishna. Even the friggin' demigods can't understand who Krishna is compared to who we are. We don't know anything. We're just stumbling around this material world. And, somehow or other, Krishna has given us the ability to understand his philosophy a little bit, and to whom much is given, much is required. So we have to, pay it back, kind of like pay it forward. What do they call that? Paying it forward by distributing this knowledge. I think Adi Prusha, my mentor in New York City, she said, so you want us to become Krishna conscious? Is that right? She'll probably said, no. I want you to give Krishna consciousness. So, that's really, Krishna says in the Gita later on in the 18th chapter, is the one who is distributes this knowledge to my devotees. There's no one more dear to me than he, nor will ever be one more dear. And so that's a lot coming from Krishna. He really appreciates it when people will distribute it. But even Lord Chaitanya, he said, I order everybody, all my followers, everybody who lives in Bharatvarsh in India. Bharatvarsh is called India. India is called Bharatvarsh, whatever. But it didn't spread beyond that. But he said, they have a responsibility to just tell people, the words of Krishna in the Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam, and try to deliver it to everyone in the land. And this is Lord Chaitanya's mission. It's a very sublime mission. It's not his actual reason he came here. That's just a secondary reason. The real reason he came here was, just to taste Radharani's love. That because he couldn't understand it. Even God can't understand women. You know what I mean? He couldn't even understand how it is that she loves him so much, and what was it in him that she was attracted to. And so he had to take her role in order to experience that. Otherwise, he couldn't understand. It's Krishna himself. He's supposed to know everything. But of course, Radharani is also Krishna. Lord Chaitanya was Radha and Krishna combined, but he was like a genius in that he took that highest philosophy and combined it with the preaching mission. And, that's why he is our hero. So let's see. Okay, this one's also, I think you'll be sort of Prabhupada in this session because the purports are kind of short. You're just reading the Prabhupada's purports, I think, so far. I wonder if we're going to finish this. I think it gets up to 35. I'm going to have to change my flyer because it still says we got one more session to go here on Wednesday. If we finish the chapter, by that time, I'm going to have to put a different logo on that page, because I said, I put on this page here that we're on chapter 13. Say,
Oh, well, I mean, I'm surprised you put what chapter that you're on the flyer.
Maybe I shouldn't
just
even
take it
do
off.
that. Yeah, maybe I should just like generally. Yeah, I'll just put a picture of Krishna and Arjuna. That's a better idea. And then I can use it again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Escape the cycle of samsara for free. What a deal. Okay, am I on where we want to be? You just read that, go back home, back to God, right?
Yeah.
Number 27, okay. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sat stavara jangamam chetra chetagnya samyo gat tadvidi bhartarshava. Synonyms: well, yavat, whatever, sanjayate, comes into being, kinchit, anything, sattvam, existence, stavara, not moving, jangaman, moving, chetra, of the body, chetragnya, I'm the knower of the body, samyogat, by the union between tat vidi, you must know it. Bharta Rishabha, O chief of the Bhartas. I always wondered what that name meant. Bhartarshaba means chief of the Bhartas. Translation, O chief of the Bhartas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Good.
Both material nature and the living entity, which were existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills, which are not moving. And there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of material nature and superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature, and thus all these activities and manifestations take place.
Text 28. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tantistan parameshwaram vinasyatvandivinasyantam napasyati napashiti sapashiti. Synonyms: saman, equally, sarveshu, in all, bhuteshu, in living entities, tishtantam, residing, paramameshwaram, the supersoul, vinasyatsu, in the destructible, avinasyantam, not destroyed. Yeah, anyone who pashyati sees, sahi pashyati, actually sees. Translation, one who sees the supersoul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and understands that neither the soul nor the supersoul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees.
Anyone who, by good association, can see three things combined together: the body, the proprietor of the body, or the individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul, is actually in knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually, this is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the supersoul exist. They go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms. The Sanskrit word paramadasara is sometimes translated as the individual soul, because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, he transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this paramsvara to be the supersoul. In either case, both the supersoul and individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who can see in this way can actually see what is happening.
Yeah, the soul is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. You know, that's kind of comforting, you know, because the scientists say, you know, we're just a random combination of chemicals and we're just like a bunch of atoms, beeping atoms running laps around ourselves. And that's life. Sorry. You know, that's not very comforting. And you're dead. When you're dead, everything's finished, you know. That's just like cold. That's what my father says. You know, he's a physicist. He's supposed to be a smart guy, you know. He says, I don't care what happens to me after I'm dead. You know, take my ashes, throw them in the woods, because he used to like to take walks in the woods. But now he's too old even to take walks anymore. He can't even move. So he's completely crippled, and you know, he's 93, pushing 93 years old, and he can't do anything. But he says he's not afraid of death, but he thinks that at death, everything's finished. Even the most intelligent people think that way. And it's not true. You know, Krishna says, you know, you will attain, you know, you should never doubt what Krishna says. Krishna is the authority. You know, who should we believe? These scientists? You know, I don't think so.
Right.
because I just posted a little meme here. Maybe I'll show it to you.
Well,
Malati
I have a
actually,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
If he thinks that there's nothing, why isn't he afraid?
Well, he is afraid. Everybody's afraid of death, but they just want to put on this bravado. See, do you see this?
Yeah.
To be
Yeah,
an
I saw
atheist,
that
you have to believe
earlier.
nothing produces everything. Non-life produces life. Randomness produces precision. Chaos produces order. In other words, random combination of chemicals produces all the food we eat, all these beautiful flowers, all the food is nutritious. This random combination of chemicals just happen to arrange itself
Yeah,
in such a way
luckily.
as it's perfectly symbiotic with every other living entity. And all these heavenly blue morning glories, they all like buds suddenly start blooming in August, and then they all fall off in the same day. It's like Krishna's fireworks. What are the odds of that happening? Zero.
I don't know.
By a random combination of chemicals. There's actually one dude that actually calculated that. He was a probability mathematician. He said he calculated that the chances of a self-replicating organism arising from chemical combination was zero. Goose egg, so, but they I sent my father this, I don't send him, I don't try not to argue with him, but I send him that. I said, you have more faith than I do, because this dude is saying, I simply do not have that much faith, and so to have that, everybody believes in something, you might believe in your own mind and you have faith in your mind, but I choose not to trust my mind. And then I trust Krishna instead, because our minds are faulty, and they make mistakes, and they have a tendency to cheat, and they're not even our senses that we perceive things through, what the mind perceives things through, they're faulty too. And so why should I put my trust in anything but besides Krishna's words that are coming from the scriptures here? That's what that's the bottom line. I don't trust anything beyond that. And God we trust. Others pay cash. I like that saying. Let's see here. Text 29. Samam pasyan hi sarvatra samavasti tamishram nahi nasti admatmanam tato yati param gatim. Synonyms. Samam, equally, pasyan, seeing, he, certainly, sarvatra, everywhere, samavastitam, equally situated, Ishwaram, the super soul, na, does not, hinasti, degrade, atmana, by the mind, atmanam, the soul, tata, then yati, reaches param, the transcendental gatim, destination. Translation. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Short purport.
Purport. The living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than in his spiritual existence. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality, and he therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense-gratifying processes, but when the mind turns to the supersoul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding.
Yeah, that's an important point, because there's so much division everywhere. There's so much fighting going on, and you see, because you see things differently. You see an animal different from a man. You see different types of men different from who you are. You divide things according to race and gender and politics and all these different things. But this simply creates a degraded, distracted mentality. If you see everything equally, like Krishna sees everything equally. He doesn't see anybody as his friend, and he doesn't see anyone as his enemy. But he is he pays attention to his devotee, and he reciprocates with his devotee. So he'll respond to his devotee accordingly, and that way he is a little it'll partial, but that's just natural, just like a mother. Whoops. Oh no. I don't want to do that. Can you still see me? Okay. Can you see the
Yeah.
Bhagavad-gītā? I just clicked that on that upgrade your Zoom. I don't want to upgrade the Zoom. They want money after 40 minutes. So we got about 10, almost 10 minutes left here. You read the whole purport?
I did.
Okay. Text 30. Prakrityaiva chakarmani kriyamanani sarvasha yapashyanti tatatmanam akartaram sapashiti. Synonyms: prakrita, by material nature; eva, certainly; cha, and also; karmani, activities; kriyan, manani, being performed; sarvasha, in all respects; ya, anyone who; pashiti, sees; tata, also; atmanam, himself; akartanam, the non-doer; sahi, pashyati, sees perfectly. Translation: one who sees that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, sees that the self does nothing, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees.
Purport: this body is made by material nature under the direction of the super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or distress, one is forced to do because of bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. The body is given according to one's past desires. To fulfill desires, one is given the body, which is with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer.
That's why we see, like, in very advanced personalities like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was practically completely detached from his body, so much so that he would just do everything, all his daily activities just as a matter of routine. He wasn't even hardly aware of his body because he was completely absorbed on the spiritual platform. So he was like, almost unconscious of his daily activities of eating and sleeping and whatever, That's a pretty high position to be in. Of course, he's God.
Yeah. That's not good for most people who aren't in that position.
Well, you don't want to drive like that or something, You want to pay attention to what you're doing, but at the same time, you should you should never think that I'm the doer, I am doing this. I am the creator. I'm like George W. Bush. He said, this is the ownership society. I own a house. And of course, because he tried to promote that, there was a huge crash in the market because he was giving away houses to people that weren't qualified to pay it back, So, that was a bad idea. You don't own anything. We don't even own our bodies. What to speak of anything else? One time, Bhaktipad asked Prabhupada, my spiritual master asked him, so Srila Prabhupada, should I renounce everything? And Prabhupada just started laughing. He said, what do you have to renounce? You don't even have our bodies to renounce. Anyway, text 31. Yada bhuta pritagbavam ekashtam unapashiti tateva chavistaram brahma sampadyate tada. Synonyms: yada, when; bhuta, of living entities; pritagbavam, separated identities; ekastam, one, situated in one; anupashyati, one tries to see through authority; tata eva, thereafter; cha, also; vistaram, the expansion; brahma, the absolute; sampadyate, he attains; tada, at that time. Translation: when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies and sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. We have 3 minutes left. It's kind of funny, this word yada. It's also in a famous verse, but I was trying to explain to my friend Nityo Dita. Do you know Nityo? Yeah, we were talking about like the insurrection or something, and he said yada yada, and it was like, oh, is he like referencing a Yiddish Seinfeld episode? Yada yada yada, and I said, what are you doing? I mean, this is serious talk. And but what he meant was yada yada hi dharmasya, whenever and wherever there's decline of religious principles and a rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself in order to reestablish religious principles. So or in the form of a woman, Mohini Murti, or maybe female, God is coming and she's pissed. Have you heard that one? I haven't heard that one. It's been a while, but anyway, we have like 3 or 4 verses, so do you have any questions about this? So what we covered so far?
Let me go ahead and read the purport to make sure that it gets in these couple minutes we have.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Purport. When one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. In the material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. This is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to contact with material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision, thus being freed from differentiations like man, animal, pig, big, low, etc. One becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity. Now how he then sees things will be explained in the next verse.
Okay, so we'll pick up on Wednesday on the next verse. It kind of reminds me of another verse from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, where Krishna is advising Uddhava. The Uddhava-gītā is kind of like an expanded version of the Bhagavad-gītā. Did you know that? The whole 11th canto is an expansion of the Bhagavad-gītā. And this second chapter says, this is about differentiation. We've got like 1:49 left. It says, he's advising Uddhava not to differentiate between people, like whoever indulges in praising or criticizing qualities and behavior of others will quickly become deviated from his own best interest by his entanglement in illusory dualities. And down below, I don't know who wrote this, but probably Hridayananda, because this is the 11th canto. Prabhupada didn't live long enough to finish the entire Bhagavatam, but he quotes Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, indicates that rather than trying to separate conditioned souls by materialistic distinctions, one should try to bring them together, chant the holy name of the Lord, and propagate the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. A non-devotee, or even an envious third-class devotee, is not interested in uniting people on the platform of love of Godhead. Instead, he unnecessarily separates them by emphasizing material distinctions like communist, capitalist, black, white, rich, poor, liberal, conservative, and so on. Material life is always imperfect, full of ignorance, and disappointing in the end. Rather than praising or criticizing the high and low features of ignorance, one should be absorbing Krishna consciousness on the platform of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. But you see that so often, some people think, oh, those poor people, these poor black people, they have refrigerators. Can you believe it? They're just sucking off the teat of the government, and they criticize poor people, or they praise some high person that's really rich and famous, But, all these things really are a distraction to our Krishna consciousness. But anyway, we're going to be cut off here in any minute. So thank you very much for tuning in. And I'll see you on Saturday.